Good evening. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence and reflection for our servicemen and women throughout the world and for those who have passed away in our community. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Smurl?
Here.
Mr. Schuster?
Present.
Dr. Rothchild? Here. Mr. McAndrew?
Present.
Mr. King?
Here. Dispense with the reading of the minutes.
Third order, 3A. Check received February 7th, 2023 from Comcast in the amount of $252,642.60 for quarterly franchise fee payment. 3B. Correspondence received from the Business Administration for a budget transfer for the Human Resource Department. 3C. Minutes of the Scranton Municipal Recreation Authority Board of Directors meeting held December 1st, 2022. 3D, minutes of the Scranton Redevelopment Authority regular meeting held January 4th, 2023. 3E, correspondence received February 8th, 2023 from OECD regarding code enforcement report for City Council. 3F, correspondence received from City Business Administration dated February 9th, 2023 regarding updated payroll preparation tax collections.
Are there any comments on any of the third order items? If not, received and filed. Do any council members have any announcements at this time?
I have two. So this Monday, February 20th, from 1 to 8 p.m., the Fortis Institute would like you to know that Scranton for our annual Give Kids a Smile event. It's free dental exam, cleaning, x-rays, fluoride, sealants. That is for children ages of 3 to 17. A legal parent or guardian must be present with your child, and each child will be given a bag of dental supplies to take home. So that's a pretty cool thing. So, and then next, St. Lucy's will be having their pre-Lenten Mardi Gras bake sale. The Women of St. Lucy's Altar and Rosemary Society will celebrate Mardi Gras by holding a bake sale on Saturday, February 18th, before and after 4 p.m. Mass, and Sunday, February 19th, before and after 9 a.m. Mass. The bake sale will have homemade Italian baked goods, as well as other tasty and sweet treats of breads, cakes, cookies, and pastries. So if you can make it, that sounds like a cool thing, too. And then also, I'd like to wish everybody out there, all the sweethearts out there, a happy Valentine's Day. And hang in there, boys. St. Patrick's Day is right around the corner. And that is all I have.
I'd just like to thank the Recreation Authority. They had a food drive this past weekend. Unfortunately, I could not be there. I was out of town. I got home late on Sunday, but from what I understand, it was an incredible turnout. They had so much food. Norma Jeffries couldn't find any boxes to get the food distributed. So it was a wonderful turnout, and I want to thank the Rec Authority and all the volunteers that helped assist with that. And just remind everyone that the St. Patrick's Day Parade is coming up on Saturday, March 11th. I believe the parade kicks off at 11:30 a.m., so we're looking forward to that. Fourth order.
Fourth order, citizen participation.
First speaker is Joan Hodawanitz.
Joan Hodawanitz, Scranton. And how was our 2021 audit this fine evening?
We're getting there, from what I understand. I met with the mayor yesterday. I think we're probably a few weeks away from that being finalized.
Uh-huh. And is the mayor considering a 10% penalty for the late audit?
I did ask her about that, and she took a note and said that she was going to look into that further.
Yeah. If she decides not to, I'd like to know her reasoning why not. Just so you know, Kohansky did 4 audits starting in 2018. That audit was late. It came in on December 26th. 2019 audit, February 21st. And the 2020 audit, February 25th. So here's a pattern of lateness. And are we still waiting on GASB 75?
I believe that's the last piece.
And who is responsible for that piece?
I'm not exactly sure. I believe it's someone in the administration.
Okay. And this is all with the help of Rainey and Rainey, of course, because they're still up in the BA's office. What about the arbitrations on the police and fire unions?
My understanding that I believe the fire had another arbitration hearing yesterday. That's progressing. The mayor is hopeful that both of those will get resolved this spring. Don't know exactly when, but I believe that it's binding arbitration, so.
Okay, and I was looking at the website, making progress inch by inch, but it's been 5 months since the DPW contract was approved, and we still don't have that one posted, so that's still being tossed back and forth to dot the i's and cross the t's.
That's what I'm to understand, but I will try to get an update from the mayor.
Yeah,
next week.
5 months is a long time for them to be crossing t's and dotting i's. In third order, we had an update on tax preparation tax returns, which isn't very favorable because it looks like for 2022 we've got a 66% return rate, which means we're down about $614,000. So if that rate continues for this year, we'll be down another $800,000. Has anybody analyzed what the problem is and what we're going to do about it? That's an unacceptable return rate, 66%. I know it's a new tax, but it's been a year now, so they have until the end of February to get the 2022 payments in, and I'm not very hopeful. I think that needs some attention and some questions should be asked. And I was very pleased to see that Mr. Basiliga is providing space free of charge for the Civil War Museum, which used to be in the basement of this building. I don't know if anybody on the dais, if any of you have ever visited that museum, it's quite amazing. It's a piece of local history, and it's something we should preserve for future generations. So thank you, Mr. Basiliga. I saw in the legals today, and I was surprised to see a bid for fitness equipment for DPW. What is that all about? I mean, I could see maybe the city needs fitness equipment for police and fire, but DPW for what, maybe picking up trash cans or something? I mean, what's that all about?
We discussed it during the caucus. None of us seem to really know what the story is with that. So we asked Mr. Voldenberg if he would look into.
Right, and just my personal opinion, but I think the police and fire should have equal opportunity on that equipment, and the clerical union too. And finally, some good news. I see Commonwealth Court is going to try to get some tax dollars out of not-for-profit hospitals. Go Commonwealth Court, and if they appeal it, I hope they lose their appeal, and this could be a windfall for this city. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sotowan. It's Norma Jeffries.
Good evening, Council. Norma Jeffries, city resident. And I wanted to start off tonight by, I'd like to give thank yous where appropriate. And when I was reading the paper Monday, and Joan already hit on it with the Civil War Museum downstairs, and there was a lot of discussion on that. I don't know if everyone remembers that they wanted to just dump them out, and they wanted to use that space down there for storage and things. So, you know, when you get the paper, you sit down at your table and you have your coffee and you open the paper and you see some good stuff on it, like that the Civil War Museum was salvaged. It's going to be in a very visible location down at the marketplace. So that was a good thing. So I too thank Mr. Basilica for stepping up and to helping out that situation. The other thing I wanted to ask about that I don't understand is that there was a grant that's going to be written for the signs on trails in the Lackawanna County, I guess it is. And it's just a grant that's going to be written. And I was wondering how the grant was going for the street signs that for the city. And I know that I was told that there's a grant that's going to be written, or it has been written, so that more street signs can be put up in the city of Scranton. I could not find any update on that grant, so if someone could also update me on that. And also, not only, when I say that, I say update me, it's not just me, it's the citizens of Scranton that we're all looking for better street signs and directions as we go about. I also was glad to see that there is some work going forward on the walkability study. And it seems that there's antennas, I guess, that are up in the city that are starting to, I guess, count the number of traffic or the foot traffic that's going. So I did read that that's moving forward, so that's a good thing. So that's two things that I've sat here at City Council and listened to, and that was the Civil War Museum, which has moved now, and that was a success. And then also the walkability study is moving forward, so that's also a success. Also success was this weekend with the food drive, and you know, Bill King already mentioned that, but I could do, if I was a dancing person, I could do a happy dance right here on the floor as to how successful that food drive was. And with today's economy, with things being so expensive at the store, the citizens of Scranton, Lackawanna County, there are people there from Taylor that came to deliver, and I'm sure other places as well. So I'm just so thankful to the people of Lackawanna County and for Scranton to come forward like they did. The tables that we had, one table is this side, it was filled completely. We divided into 5 different organizations, and the tables were just packed with food for them, and they were just so appreciative when they came today to pick the food up. And they just wanted to thank the citizens, and they said if I could thank each one of the people that gave food today and to help us out. And you know, that just gives you a feeling that you're doing the right thing when you just take a can of soup, a jar of peanut butter, and that's going to help the next person, because there's so much we can take for granted as we go into our kitchens, and we have that choice to make as we stand and make our breakfast. Everybody doesn't have that choice, and to be able to help with that, you know, is just such a great feeling. So I thank all the council members, you know, they all were there, and my fellow teammates here from that come to the council meetings. You know, it was just so good to see people and be able to say hi, 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 you know, and know who they were and put faces with names. So thank you again to the citizens of Scranton, and thank you again for anyone that helped. I also want to give a shout out to Garrity's Market. I don't know if it's doable or not, if it's, you know, but Garrity's Market on Meadow Avenue was just absolutely fantastic with me. Each time I called, I needed boxes, but I had no idea how many boxes I needed until last night I put a blast out on Facebook, and we need boxes, we're running out of boxes. That's how much food we got, that we were running out of boxes to pack food up. So, you know, again, just thank you to everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Jeffries. Beverly Burrows.
Hi, Council. Bev DeBarros, Quincy Avenue in Scranton. Here to talk about voter suppression in our city, which has been going on for years and years at the county jail. I know the jail on this same street, Washington Avenue, is run by the county, but still it's in our city. I feel responsible as a citizen that year after year after year, we've appealed to the board of, the prison board. Nothing is done. I've reached out to League of Women Voters, this should not happen. There are 800-some inmates in there. Most of them have the right to vote. Here's the pamphlet that tells who can and cannot vote. Most of them are eligible. However, they need to get their ballot, their mail-in ballot, and that doesn't happen in there. Some of them need to make an application for, all of them would need to make an application for a mail-in ballot. Everything is complicated. These are the directions. This is the actual form, but then it has to be sent in. It has to be, put a stamp on it. They can't have stamps in there. We can't give inmates a stamp. Well, I can't even get in there right now, being a volunteer. But, and then some people aren't even registered to vote, but they're eligible to register to vote. And they don't register to vote in Scranton. They vote and register to vote in their official mailing address, whatever city that they come from, their home address. So all this is complicated paperwork, back and forth. It can be done, but it has to be done, methodically, organized. They need help. Since the prison itself, with all those counselors they have and workers they have in there, have not taken this on. I'm hoping that maybe a justice group from the University of Scranton or Marywood College, anybody that has a conscience and ability, please come forward and try to rectify this. I mean, you all know the value of a vote. And in fact, this is another election coming up in May. In addition to receiving the paperwork to apply for their ballot and mail in their ballot, they need to be informed citizens. They need to, and again, for years, I've been saying we need newspapers in that jail so the people know what's going on, the issues, the people. And right now, the only thing they can have in there, no books, no magazines like we had previously. They have tablets, and the phone company, GTL, that provides these tablets makes a huge profit. Tomorrow, there's a prison board meeting this afternoon, and some other speakers will be speaking about the outrageous profits that are made on tablets and other things that happen in the jail. However, the people who can't afford their extra fee, they get a free hour on the tablet, and that's to do all their correspondence. Doesn't last long. And even if there was a newspaper provided on there, would take more than half that time to educate, to read the newspaper in an educated way. So there's a lot going on here with this, and just ask you to be aware, concerned. If you have any influence, any contact, anybody else outside of this room that knows somebody, what kind of citizens are we if we're denying this from our fellow citizens? Thank you.
Thank you, Bev. Thank you, Mr. Barros. Derek Rains?
I think my wife's got to go first.
Is it Jerry Rains?
Derek, I'm on my way. I don't want to run over anybody. There's a military person. I got my Navy hat on. Were you an Army person?
Yeah, I'm an Army person.
Well, I love you anyway.
Don't dump your wife and run away with me?
Yeah. Hey, I've got insurance, so what more can you ask for? Ready to go? I can't see the clock, so somebody's going to have to alert me on the time.
You're all set.
Derek Rains, 919 Monroe Avenue, Scranton, Pennsylvania. I'm going to preface my conversation. My wife said make sure I'm not yelling, so if I'm yelling, I don't mean to be. All the people that are here, is Mr. Coyne here today? Mr. Coyne, you're a great man. I love listening to you. I can't think of the lady's name. All the people that are here, you folks come time and time again, and you say all these problems. What about the audit? What about this? What about that? And you guys ask these same questions, and you get the same answers every day. And the same answers are, oh, I'm sorry, I don't know. I'll get back with you on that. And it's just so disheartening to be here as a taxpayer. I pay my $6,000 a year for my property taxes, and I love this city, but I just don't think the people of this city are getting what they're paying for. And all of you folks, Mr. King, I'll start with you. I watch you guys I can't see where you are. Mr. King, where are you? I mean, to listen to you talk, and all of you guys talk, Mr. McAndrew, Dr. Jessica, I mean, I love watching you guys on TV and listening to you because I'm now legally blind. I can't see very well. And listening to you folks and the questions, they're just wonderful. And all the people that are here, I'm just so happy to have these citizens who come here, and I wish we could get more people to come here. Okay, I am a certified safety and health specialist. I probably wouldn't pass my test now. Let you know that. Your building, just coming in, first off, the Department of Justice does oversee the American with Disability Act. Parking spot that they had put in does not meet the American with Disability Act. It has one sign, and it's a 15-minute parking spot, which is illegal. It's time as needed. You go to your bathrooms, you have those sliding door locks, what you put in, you know, an old room you don't want anybody to touch or anything. Those have been against the law for public access places for decades. And I complained about that. It's got to be 15, I'm going to go 10 years ago at least. They're against the law. You have people who work here, Department of Public Works, these people have to see this stuff every day. Are any of the employees actually certified in safety and health? I am. Dr. Jessica, I know you know a lot about what stuff should be done, but do the people who work in Public Works, are they taught safety and health, what they're supposed to do, how entrance and exits are supposed to be made? And it just disheartens me, especially now that I'm really a disabled person, that this building is not handicap accessible. And I don't know how I can contact somebody in the Department of Justice to help me file a lawsuit against the city of Scranton. I don't know. And I think Mr. King, whichever way he is, Mr. King seems like the person who I could ask any question to, and he would probably send me back an answer. And what was my other thing, Jill?
Street.
Oh, yes. the street, about our problem with the street not being taken care of. My van, the water just flows everywhere, and it goes all down my yard. It's definitely a bacteria breeding place. My granddaughter, when she comes to our house, when she walks on our property, when she comes in the house, she has to take off her shoes, because you do not want a kid coming into your house after being on the 900 block of Monroe, where all that sewage and sludge you don't want this stuff coming into your house. I mean, it is, for no better term, cooties. I know there is a much more technical term for it, but this city has got to do something with my street. I have curb on the thing. They don't have the American with Disability. They don't have the thing on either corner for a blind person to know that, hey, how about that pothole that's been there for how many years that DPW still has not fixed? I mean, I could get a couple neighbors and a bag of concrete and fix it. And the city of Scranton has done zero to take care of these problems. As I said, I'm a 27-year veteran of civil service, and I expect this city to be able to do simple things such as this, because they're not really that complicated problems. Mom, my time's up. Mrs. told me, but she put her name, and she's going to talk to you about the true health consequences of the sludge. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Raines, and we will look into those concerns you expressed to us.
Hi, my name is Jill Raines. I'm Derek's wife. I also live at 919 Monroe. My big issue is we've paid twice this year to have this dirt removed from the front of my house in my driveway. And then unfortunately we had a leak. DPW had to dig up, and they had to pump all this water out of this hole that was filled with mud, and they completely filled it with mud again. Derek has to get on a van. The county van picks him up and takes him to his doctor's appointments, to physical therapy, and it's all ice and that just lays there. Getting in the house, every time we drive through it, I have 3 cars that park in my driveway. You drive through it, it comes up on the sidewalk. Whoever's walking down the sidewalk is walking through this mud. I just redid all my landscaping last year, and it's all now down in the back of my yard, because it just comes down, and it just is like a waterfall right down the middle of my yard when it rains, because it comes right down Myrtle Street and comes right across, and doesn't go any further than my house. It just goes all into my backyard. So like Derek had mentioned, we have a granddaughter now, and then my daughter's trying to get her out of the car. You can't even get out of your car because you have to jump over this mud. You can't get to the sidewalk without jumping over all this mud. And I know people have come out and talked to us about it, and they say that it's because the center of the road was never graded. They keep paving over it and not grading the center of the road. So it just basically keeps getting steeper and steeper, and then every time they pave the road, it's nice, the road's paved, the potholes aren't there, but my gully gets deeper when they do that. So they really have to grade the road before they pave it. I know Derek put in for a grant for some of that money that's floating around to get roads repaired. I don't think anybody's even read it yet.
Nope, still sitting.
According to what he did, but I'm never going to talk for 3 more minutes. But anyway, it's just something that I know we keep talking about, but in the summer, it's especially a health issue, because the odor that comes from this dirt that's there, and the mosquitoes, and it's just, like I said, you're driving your car through it, and then you're walking through it on the sidewalks, and you're bringing it into your house.
And I have to drive through it.
And he has to drive his chair through it, because a lot of times he'll go down to Zupa's for lunch, and he's got to go out on the road to drive, because he can't ride his chair on the sidewalk. So then he has to drive through it and then drive down the street and back through it. So when it's muddy, it just gets all in these tires, and then it comes in the house.
I'm going to contact DPW and see if maybe I can stop over there with someone from DPW and take a look at it myself and see what can be done to try to get that issue resolved for you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for listening. It really makes people feel good that you actually listen and comment. I mean, that's nice.
Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Raines.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to be heard?
Tom Coyne, Manuka. Good evening, Council. First, again, I'd like to thank Mr. McAndrew and Mr. Schuster for appearing at the Zoning Board meeting in relation to the solar installation. It's unfortunate for them that they failed to understand how clear-cutting would be viewed and a lack of a runoff plan controls for that mountain would be observed. It was complicated by the lie of 23 temporary jobs and 70 permanent jobs. When pressed, all the jobs would most likely be remote monitoring by the internet. Lawyers, and maybe if someone found the solar installation particularly interesting, it might spawn a job at a coffee shop. Big money for the city of Scranton. They may have succeeded if they tried a smaller footprint to start, considered on water issues, and we're not trying to push the idea that power generation would go to local PP&L substation, misdirecting the intent as local power supplied here and not just the entire grid. Their misrepresentation failed on all accounts. On current issues, I've presented you with a lot of info over the last week, some on electric cars, some on the use of Recovery Act funds, and the rulings on the use of parks. I understand it's a lot of information, and I leave that all to you to review. I would hope that when there is a caucus on the Recovery Act funds, that citizens will get to address questions this time, as it is a decision-making forum. I believe that just submitting questions and asking by proxy isn't sufficient, because when that has happened in the past, the administration has dodged the question multiple times, and then after 3 or 4 times of dodging direct questions, they get a pass on it and things get moved on rather than being held to the fire. If someone can confirm the zoning process, I believe the last time it was introduced, it had a comment period, and then it was tabled as it was required for a month for any written comments. Is this going to be the same procedure? I assume the delay is due to the MCP requiring county and contiguous municipalities having a comment period after it's put forward. I'd like to verify if that is actually going to happen. I am concerned, based on Mr. King's statement, the city planning commissioner, about Geisinger writing the city directly for specific changes, which was quoted at 1 hour and 5 minutes into the planning commission meeting. I have a right to know currently out for those documents, but they are delayed by 30 days. I will most likely receive the information about around 3 p.m. on the day before it would be scheduled for the final vote. The city plans on to present me with the right to know response on March 13th. Last, per the state requirement, the Planning Commission lacks one requirement and skips a giant benefit. Municipal Planning Code 301A Section 4 requires a transportation plan. I haven't seen in the rezoning ordinance, an actual transportation plan baked into it. Last, the saldo provision allows an addition of mandated public dedication. This requires developers to dedicate land or pay a fee to the municipality for parks and recreation facilities. This is referred to a fee in lieu of land dedication. Public dedication is essentially an impact fee, a fee imposed on a government on a new development to help pay for services that the new development will demand of the government. Development creates an increased demand for municipal services. Requiring developers to provide amenities or funding for expanded, enhanced public amenities is an equitable way to offset some of the impacts for this new development. I do not understand why at this time, in looking in both pilot and park aid, we are not looking at an available process to fund parks that is currently out there for us with this change in zoning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Coyne. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard?
Thank you, he does mightily. Good evening and Happy New Year. No, Happy Valentine's Day. I'm a little tardy with this, but not too far. I just wanted to bring it back and say I did get mine on the 26th of January. So I was very happy when you decided to put some out by the door so I could have one until I waited for the Postal Service or whoever mailed these out. Now, we've talked about the non-taxable properties, and I just think it's worthwhile to let you know who does pay. First of all, it is about, if you go take the ratio, it's about 0.1% of the non-taxables pay anything. And the people, I won't read how much it was, but there's Lutherwood, Goodwill at North Gerald T. Lang Apartments, New Life Baptist Church, Polish National Catholic Church, Scranton Housing Authority, the University of Scranton, Harrison House Personal Care Home, and Covenant Presbyterian Church. Those are the people who have, so there's an awful lot left for you people to go out and get those pockets turned out. And the administration, certainly, it's sort of ridiculous that we get so little. Now, I think also that you people need to be more aggressive on seeing that the things that you pass happen as you intended. Now, for instance, and not all of you are here, I know, but does everybody up there think that the LERTA program was good and did the job that was expected? Okay. Okay, now we've got, for instance, we've got a new big project coming up in 2 years, and that is the Meadowbrook stormwater program. It's scheduled to start in 2025. Now, I think as of today, if you recall, there were 48 rights of way that had to be obtained before the thing can go forward. Now, 2 years may seem like a long time, but I remind you that 2015, I believe it was, we sold the sewer authority, and we still have a sewer, or the sewer building and project, but now we still have a sewer authority. And why? Because we're still going after the rights of way that had to be. Does anybody there ever go to a meeting and ask them when they think they're going to be able to wrap that up? Might suggest it. And then on the demolitions, I did get as I mentioned last week, I did get the materials from Frank, and I did get to go through them, and I have now sent for a right to know to get the information that I need to provide how many there are on the list and when they're going to happen, and I guess that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schumacher.
Good evening, Council. Dave Dobson, resident of Scranton. Okay. All right. I've been on this for a while, and it was just mentioned tax exempts. I'm not criticizing anybody, and I have pointed out in the past that any pilot donations are strictly voluntary, and it's all a matter of whether the institution feels well enough to donate or whatever. But we're now, at last count, we're at 38%. And I'm pretty sure we're well approaching 40%. I don't know if the recent demolitions up near Geisinger, taxes are due immediately, or because the land isn't in use yet, but get ready. And then on Spruce and Wyoming, a building has just sold for $1.6 million, and once again, I don't want to criticize anybody if they're tax exempt, but I would love to see a whole group of tax exempts go with us to the state to appeal for replacement of at least some of that tax money, half of it, whatever. But it's already getting to the point where it's putting a hefty pinch on people that may or may not be able to afford it, and it's an awful shame when a landlord buys a house like next door to me for a couple $1,000, puts a couple $1,000 more into it, and the rent on that house, even though it's pretty shabby on the outside, is $1,200 a month. That's a lot of money. That's $14,000 a year or whatever. That's quite a bit of money. He made his money back the first year, and he's been operating for 5 or 6 years. So, you know, we really need to start looking at the situation. And we have more apartments going in downtown. And I contend that anybody that has put in apartments, if possible, or is currently constructing apartments, should have to at least book in that apartment parking space. At least one parking space, maybe 2, at the parking authority in the garage. Because like Friday night, I go down to Buona Pizza. I'm around the block 3 times till something finally opens up. All while my $22 specialty pizza gets cold, you know, so. And they've been around since 1966, and I presume their place would have been taken off of them if they hadn't paid taxes and everything else to the city. And once again, we're on a PUC, and it's just one after another editorial in the paper about their unfair price hikes. And
God bless.
when they consider cost of living, the reason it's not working out for working class retirees is that these people are raising their rates. And, you know, I just bought a top-notch performer CD, musical CD for $6. They used to be 18 and 20. So all of that gets figured in against inflation, or if gas goes down like it did back in 2009. We had 10% of our workforce laid off. So, you know, gas prices declined, energy prices declined, and the elderly got no raise, retirees. And just quick, renewed lawsuit against the county for using slave labor to sort stuff out down at the recycle center. I'll handle that a little more next week.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Would anyone else like to be heard?
Hello, Council. I was expecting Mr. Bizzoni to come to address my character assassination of him, but I guess silence is his answer. I don't know. These people seem to think that no one's listening to my addresses here and that I'll go away. I've had 6-8 people this week mention it to me, so there's got to be a lot of people watch this program, and whether they like it or not, have comments. One of them was, if I lost my mind. I don't think so. My neighbor next door told Mr. Ware years ago he threw her out of the office when she was finished talking. That's the one that was here years ago and said I fell through my garage roof. I've been on the streets, you could say, my whole life, really. I know the heart of the city and the people. And council seems to be in a different plane. You're business orientated and financially orientated. The people I talk to are family orientated and interested in their homes, in their neighborhoods. There doesn't seem to be any response from the city except for developers. You people are developers inclined. Mr. Bizzoni made a statement several years ago that we should give the developers more grants, loan forgiveness, tax abatements. These people have lawyers and financial assistants to do their utmost tax-wise not to pay 1 penny more than they have to. You know, the result of that is poor neighborhoods, because one thing you people were talking about, higher salaries would bring better people in. I have no argument against that. How can you defend Mr. Olaski, Mr. Sunday? Here, tell me. Nothing's being done about him. He waived tax, but that's money that his office needs. He has no authority whatsoever. Not one of you lifted a finger to see what's going on in that office. I think that maybe Mr. Powell should do something and investigate it. Who knows? I'm not trying to embarrass council or alienate it, because I know I need council. But council is just a step away from the knowledge of what's going on around here in our streets. You just don't talk to to the right people. You're in a different plane. Your friends and acquaintances and business partners are in a different plane than the voters. You're just fortunate there's so much voter apathy and ignorance of elections. Real quick, a lady at the Tours Club told me this is about her own son. He voted for the first time. So when it was over with, she's asking him, he voted for a straight Democratic ticket because his girlfriend told him they're for drugs and abortion. That's the only thing he came away with for the last election. And these are people that are going to be sitting in your seats someday. They have no knowledge. They don't have any interest in our community for some reason.
Thank you, Mr. Ullman.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to be heard?
Good evening, Council. Darwin Shaw, Scranton resident. Let me say Happy Valentine's Day. We're going to take it in love. It's enough aggression today. Let's talk about sewer authority. Now, do you guys know if we're in compliance with the M4 permit? Does anybody know what the M4 permit is? You do, honestly, because I watched the message. I watched all the YouTubes from 3 years ago until now, honestly, and what everybody is talking about is right. I haven't been around because my lung collapsed, and I passed away, honestly, and Geisinger helped me through a lot, and I'm here today. But while I was recuperating, nothing got fixed in this city, and I ran for mayor, and I feel vexed, honestly, because everybody started talking about resumes, everybody started talking about experience, and I was born and raised in Scranton, and nothing got changed from when I was a child to now. Certain county bridges still look the same way. The M4 permit needs to be complied with within 2 years, and in 2 years, our mayor is gone. If the M4 permit is not complied with, meaning that we do not have enough green infrastructure to minimize the nitrogen, which the county already took care of, and it's the city's part now to collaborate, let's say, with 21 other municipalities that fall under the M4 permit now, which is new. This is the first time that anybody needs to do it. Now, I'll say 2025, DEP is going to come back here to see if we are in compliance with that order. And if we're not, they extended, let's say, I would say due to COVID, they probably extended the permit, but they did not extend the completion date, which is in 2025, when we're not going to have a mayor. And every time election year comes up, none of you guys, I'm sorry, I love you guys, you know, I do, but this is business, and I live here. I'm a citizen here. I went through a lot, and it took Scranton to get me through what I've been through. And to see us squander funds that have been coming from the federal government, and even they can't even cooperate, and us locally, we're not supporting our citizens, even our children, and there's multiple amounts of homeless people out here. I go to the soup kitchen every day for the past 2 months, and I've been feeding them. And I feel heartbroken because individuals I know live on the street, and they cannot get no help at all. There is no financial stability at all within this city structure. Individuals in their home are struggling to feed their families. I'm an individual that's struggling to feed their family. This is beyond politics now. This is a way of life, and we are all Scrantonians, are we not? We all live here, all of us. So why is it that 5 individuals have to argue with an individual that has to send memes, then they can't sit down and talk about why our first responders are going into arbitration, why you can't agree on giving them the proper fundings that they need to protect the city, respond to individuals in a timely manner, and even fix our utilities. It's not happening. It's not okay to step in front of a camera, but you step away from citizens when they address physical and real life problems to you. I struggle every day, but I'm not gonna give up. Yeah, I died, but I'm still gonna be here and run. But I wanna cooperate with everybody. I'm a kid. I don't know what I'm doing, but I shouldn't even be doing what I'm doing. But I'm not gonna watch my daughter and even elderlies and individuals that helped me get where I'm going struggle anymore. For what? For what? A political gain? A smile? A check? It's not cool no more. It's not okay, and it's unacceptable from adults. I'm a child. Please, could we do something? Whatever I have to do, I'll help. But they're gonna come back. The federal government and everybody that applied for these grants, we don't even have the individuals in place to compete, to apply for federal grants, to get the grants done in our time. We don't. Our city controller makes less than me as a graphic designer. I can make $85,000 if I move to Miami. You really think I need to be out here doing it? I don't, but I don't. You guys, it's gonna be horrible. It's gonna be horrible, and I don't wanna leave you. I don't care, call it pettiness, call it loyalty, I don't care. I'm from Scranton, and I don't want individuals that I call my family and my friends to struggle due to individuals wanting political gain. I don't care about politics, but I do care about this city being back on the track that it was when I watched it change from drugs, corruption, to murders. There's a massive amount of fentanyl and methamphetamines out here, massive amount. And last time I was here, I asked you guys not to pass a law or help the mayor legalize that situation due to the federal government and local government. Local government does not supersede federal government. And honestly, at that, if you don't mind answering me this question, because I did write a speech, and I'm not going to do that because it's all right. What ordinances?
Mr. Shaw, I'm sorry, your time is up.
All right, you right, because I did. We need to change that 5-minute rule, but I do understand why, because people could ramble. But I'll see you next week.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard?
Fifth order, 5A motions.
Mr. Smurl, do you have any motions or comments?
Yes, a few. The City of Scranton declared an emergency declaration on 1007 Quincy Avenue. It's a 5-story building. It's been on the condemned list for a number of years, and it's pretty much on its way down. So they are going to raise that building. That happened, I believe, yesterday. Mr. Voldenberg, will you send a message to Director Duffy and ask when the Christmas lights are going to be put away at Nayog Park? We were up there Sunday for the food drive, and all of the decorations are still out.
I did reach out, and I'll reach out again, sir.
Okay, thank you. That is all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Smurl. Mr. Schuster?
Last week, I asked Mr. Voldenberg to reach out to Don King about the zoning ordinance. Mr. Voldenberg, did you reach out about the wording and the updated version of the zoning ordinance to Mr. King?
I did. I haven't received it as yet.
All right. If we could please reach out to him again. I have a concern there that, the copy that we have isn't the exact copy that the city is working from. I mean, it's not a spirit of the law type of document here. It's going to be our new zoning ordinance. So I'd like to make sure that whoever, whether it be the Planning Commission or council, that they're voting on the exact document that's going to be passed. We spoke about it tonight in caucus. There is, in third order tonight, there was a budget transfer that occurred with the HR department. I know that you're going to reach out about that. It was for $60,000 for professional service. If we could look into that to see if we can get some information, because $60,000 is quite a lot of money. And that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Schuster. Dr. Rothchild?
Yes, thank you. I had a few things to address tonight. The first was a complaint that I received, and I mentioned a couple weeks back, about Bloom Avenue, the 17 and 1800 blocks. There was a complaint that some vehicles, like the DPW trucks, were not able to get onto the street if there were vehicles parked on both sides because it is a narrow roadway. So we had gotten the engineers from Riley and Associates to go out there and make an assessment, which they sent us. And looks like their recommendations are to change it from a roadway that you could park on both sides to just being able to park on the westerly side of the road. So we'll have to ask the administration if they plan on making that change then with the appropriate signage along 17 and 1800 blocks of Bloom Avenue in line with the recommendations from Riley and Associates. And just wanted to quickly address the ADA accessibility of City Hall, which was brought up tonight by Mr. Raines. And that was something that I had contacted city administration, I think code enforcement, a while ago about, and I looked back in my email, and I think it was actually in August, and we had received a response from John Eastman, who was with code enforcement, who's no longer working for the city now, but he had a number of recommendations on how we could make City Hall more ADA accessible and compliant. And I'm not sure what action has been taken on those recommendations, so I would like to check back on that again, Mr. Voldenberg, if you'd be able to send out correspondence to see what changes we need to make or plan to make for City Hall to become compliant with ADA accessibility.
I will, Dr. Rothchild.
Thank you. And I did want to, I missed earlier, but I did want to congratulate over at NAG Park, the Rec Authority Board and the city for the food pantry. It really was successful, and it was great to be able to see all the donations that were there on Sunday. We really appreciate that because that's going to help out other food pantries to sustain them for a few months and to help people who are coming in and need food. And also want to congratulate the Garden of Cedar on their successful pop-up event for Valentine's Day weekend, and it was a great way to be able to get people out to the garden to see what work they've done there. That's along Cedar Avenue, and I think that'll be a really nice thing to see in the spring once they start planting there. But people could still go and visit and walk around and see the hearts that are there currently. And there was another thing that I wanted to check in on, Mr. Voldenberg, if you could send correspondence to DPW about changes of signs downtown for the handicap parking. That was something a while ago we had spoken about. I don't think we've gotten an update since. They were going to be looking into a few things on that matter, if I remember correctly.
I'll get an update.
Okay, great. And that's all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rothchild. Mr. McAndrew.
Yes, it's pretty sad that Mr. and Mrs. Raines has to keep coming here with the same issues that are valid and concerns. You know, one being safety issue, their road, the ADA compliance issues with City Hall, the curb cut, the handicap accessible curb cut for their house, in front of their house. And I remember bringing some of these forward. Even when both of you aren't present and you send me an email. And I remember some responses as, well, there's no money. I remember one, that was a response for some of the ADA compliance with regards to the front and the back. Well, there's no money. And then I remember on your street where they wanted to fix that storm drain or the cuts, or we took a look at it, but you know, there's no money. But sitting here the past 2 months, the ARPA money is flying around like crazy. I think you deserve to have these things taken care of. And these safety issues aren't just for you, this is for your neighbors. So please, Mr. Voldenberg, along with, you know, the other requests for, you know, with these concerns, I want some answers, solid answers in writing, because we kind of get these different answers throughout the past 3 years. These concerns aren't new. You've brought them forward more than once, more than twice, more than 3 times. And we pretty much get the same answers from administration. But I think we need some type of resolve for you. You're a taxpayer, you're handicapped, and your quality of life is in jeopardy because of this. I mean, last winter, these drains are backing up. There's ice on your driveway. The van can't even come and pick you up. I remember all these concerns, and I remember passing them along and never really getting the answers that we need and most of all, that you need. So please, again, like I said, even go back and look at the prior emails with the concerns. We want solid answers. We don't just want, well, we don't have any money, we'll try, we'll get to you. It's not working, so we need to fix this.
I'll pull all the histories and advice back.
Thank you, and please keep all of us updated. No problem, Derek. And that is all I have.
Thank you, Mr. McAndrew. I have a few responses from prior meetings. Joan Hodowanitz had mentioned, and we talked about it earlier, we sent a request to the Business Administration Office regarding the 10% fine due for the late audit, and I also spoke to the mayor about that personally yesterday, so I'm hoping to get an answer on that by next week. Mr. Ellman had expressed concerns about the following properties: 2611, 2613 North Main Avenue, parking on lawn and sidewalk; 2618 North Main Avenue, parking on vacant lot; and 2700 North Main Avenue, parking on a vacant lot. Scranton Police Department traffic officer advised the following findings: 2611, 2613 North Main Avenue, no vehicles were parked on the sidewalk at the time he had visited that area. 2618 and 2700 North Main Avenue, no vehicles were parked on these lots. It did appear that vehicles are parking on these lots, possibly during the evening. If these lots are private property, it would be up to the owner of the lot to rectify this or have the vehicles removed when they're parked on those lots. 5759 East Parker Street, City Code Enforcement did not confirm any boarding house issues. Property was cleaned up. Tenants have had concerns with the landlord in the past, yet the landlord has been very responsive and corrected any issues in the past. 2620 North Main Avenue, vacant property with damaged roof. Code Enforcement issued notice and follow-up is set for February 23rd. Citizen Jessica Osborne had requested permit parking on 1300 block of Sanderson Avenue, and you may recall this is the area where the new brewing company had moved in. I find it interesting. Some people make the assumption that we don't do anything other than come to meetings, but believe me, there's a lot more that goes on other than these meetings. We get calls from citizens. We're out and about, trying to work around our work schedules and jobs and try to get out. I personally, in this issue on 1300 block, I videotaped the situation at 8:50 p.m. on a Friday night, February 3rd. In the meantime, Jessica has since videotaped the concerns that are happening on a 1300 block of Sanderson Avenue. So the Scranton Police Traffic Officer submitted a report to the police chief for approval for permit parking on that block. I know she had initially come in and requested it prior to the brewing company opening, and we couldn't really do anything until the business was actually up and running, and we were actually able to see what the impact was from, all of the cars in that area. So I would expect that will be coming before us for legislation. Faye Faranis had expressed concerns. She asked us to send a request to Parks and Rec Director for review and update on the swings and other playground equipment at NAOG in addition to all city parks. So that request was sent in, and have we heard anything on that, Mr. Voldenberg?
Not as yet, Mr. King.
We haven't. Okay. Well, if we could just check on that again, I would appreciate that. And in terms of the pilots that were mentioned, we have the list of present non-for-profits, and I spoke to the mayor about this yesterday, and she indicated to me that they have already sent out mailings to all the nonprofits requesting payment in lieu of taxes. However, as you've heard, that list is not very long. I think the total of payments in lieu of taxes equals $250,000. To me, that is excessively low. I believe that we can do a far better job to reach out to these nonprofits. I know one thing, if there's a fire, they're going to count on the Scranton Fire Department to show up. If they need police, they're going to count on the Scranton Police Department to show up. They need the streets to be plowed. There are great benefits that many of these nonprofits are receiving, and I think being good neighbors, I think it would be really nice for them to, in turn, even though they are not-for-profit, to make some type of financial commitment or donation to the city to help offset some of these costs. So we're going to work on that. Furthermore, the mayor indicated that they're going to do that hub test to look at certain nonprofits that initially qualified for nonprofit status, and now, you know, that may have been 10, 15, 20 years ago. Well, now time has passed. Do they still fall under that non-profit ordinance? And if not, they need to go back on the tax rolls and start paying their fair dues like everyone else. So we're going to continue to work on that, and thank you.
5B, for introduction, a resolution, reappointment of Robert Gattens Jr. as a member of the Scranton Municipal Recreation Authority. Robert Gatton Jr.'s 5-year term is effective upon execution of the resolution and will expire on February 15th, 2028.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5B be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question.
On the question, I wanted to thank Mr. Gattens for all the work that he's done over the years at the park. It has had a tremendous impact, and I'm happy that he wants to continue to serve on the Rec Authority Board, so I'm happy to vote on introduction tonight of this resolution.
I totally agree. I've seen and witnessed Mr. Gattens, the work and time and effort that goes into everything that goes on up at the Nayout Park, and completely dedicated volunteer for the city in that park. So we're very fortunate to have an individual like that serve on the Rec Authority.
I also think he's the best, and I'm thrilled that he's being retained on this board, and wish him the best of luck.
All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it, so moved.
Sixth order, no business at this time. Seventh order, 7A, for consideration by the Committee on Rules for adoption. File the Council number 51, 2023, amending the membership provisions of the Housing Board of Appeals.
As chairperson for the Committee on Rules, I recommend final passage of item 7A.
Second.
On the question.
On the question, I spoke about it, I think, the last 2 weeks. I do like the current setup of the board. I do think it guarantees that there would be a quorum of 3. So I'm going to be voting no for this tonight.
I also have an issue with this, and I mentioned it last week. I'd even entertain if they had to have 3 for a meeting or not have the meeting, because we need balance. There's 5 people up here, there's 9 on a school board, and to have 2 for a quorum just doesn't make sense to me. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair to the citizens who are appealing. I don't think it's fair that we're changing the game. So what's next? Are we going to start reducing numbers on other boards or authorities? It doesn't feel good here. If it doesn't feel good here, I'm a no. And in addition to that, so even if we keep it the way it is, you're going to get 3. That's all we've been getting is 3 with 2 alternates. So why change something that's really not broke? I really don't understand the hard request to have 3, because they can't fill the 5. I get it, but they're already filling 3. So I just have a problem with that, fixing something that's really not broke. The language, what I'm trying to say. Thank you.
I will be supporting this evening due to the fact of Mr. Smurl, who sits up here on the city council and has served on that Housing Appeal Board, has indicated it's extremely difficult to get individuals, contractors, people that are qualified to serve on this Housing Appeal Board, people that actually understand and know how to read blueprints and have that knowledge. I know that they've tried extremely hard to get contractors and people that are certified to serve on it, and it's been a complete challenge, and that's why I'll be supporting this evening.
On the question, I'll be supporting this as well. I disagree that this is not broken. I mean, I think it is broken. That's why we can't fill the seats on it. And if 3 is what we've had, then I think the ordinance should have reflect that 3 seats is what this board will have in the future with the 2 alternates. And I think that it's going to be easier to find people who could be alternates. And if you don't have 3 who are able to attend that meeting, then that's when you call in an alternate to be able to attend. So they should be willing to at least do that. And they're, monthly meetings. So I think that this is more reasonable. It seems to be how the board is already operating. And so for those reasons, I'll be voting yes.
Roll call.
Mr. Smurl?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
No.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
No.
Mr. King?
Yes. I hereby declare item 7A legally and lawfully adopted.
7B for consideration by the Committee on Rules for Adoption, Resolution Number 197, 2023, appointment of Diana Blank, 415 West Market Street, Scranton, Pennsylvania, 18508, as a member of the Board of the Scranton-Lackawanna Health and Welfare Authority for a 5-year term. Diana Blank will fill the vacancy of John Granahan, whose term expired December 31st, 2022. Diana Blank's term will be effective upon execution of the resolution and will expire on December 31st, 2027.
As chairperson for the Committee on Rules, I recommend final passage of item 7B.
Second?
On the question.
On the question, I'd just like to thank Mr. Granahan for his service and to welcome Diana Blank.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Smurl?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes. I hereby declare item 7B legally and lawfully adopted.
7C for consideration by the Committee on Rules for Adoption, Resolution Number 198, 2023, appointment of Patricia Lafferty, 523 Ripple Street, Scranton, Pennsylvania, 18505, as a member of the Board of the Scranton-Lackawanna Health and Welfare Authority for a 5-year term. Patricia Lafferty will fill the vacancy of Joseph D'Antona, whose term expired December 31st, 2022. Patricia Lafferty's term will be effective upon execution of the resolution and will expire on December 31st, 2027.
As chairperson for the Subcommittee on Rules, I recommend final passage of item 7C.
Second?
On the question.
On the question, with the same as 7B, I'd like to thank Mr. D'Antona for his service to this board and to welcome Ms. Lafferty.
I, too, would like to thank Mr. D'Antona. He took me under his wing as a young teacher in 1986 over at West Scranton High School, and I worked with him. And later I became the principal at very school, and his wife served as my secretary. And I know that Mr. D'Antona has dedicated many hours of service to the city, so I want to thank him for his time serving on this board.
I also would like to thank Mr. D'Antona and also Mr. Granahan for their devoted service. Mr. D'Antona was my gym teacher for 4 years at West, and he was always involved, and I'm thrilled that he was involved with this process. That is all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Smurl?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes. I hereby declare item 7C legally and lawfully adopted.
7D for consideration by the Committee on Public Works for Adoption, Resolution Number 199, 2023, ratifying and approving the execution and submission of the grant application by the City of Scranton to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's Consumer Recycling Education and Outreach Grant Program for up to $808,438.55 to be used towards the city's It's Easy Being Green recycling project.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Public Works?
As chairperson for the Committee on Public Works, I recommend final passage of item 7D.
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Smurl?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes. I hereby declare item 7D legally and lawfully adopted.
7E for consideration by the Committee on Public Works for adoption, Resolution Number 200, 2023, ratifying and approving the execution and submission of the grant application by the City of Scranton to the U.S. National Park Service Chesapeake Gateways Program for up to $150,000 to be used towards the city's historical educational wayfinding signage initiative.
What's the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Public Works?
As chairperson for the Committee on Public Works, I recommend final passage of item 7E.
Second.
On the question?
On the question, with this one, Mr. Voldenberg, I know we're going to pass this tonight, but can you reach out to the administration and ask when the last time these signs, or this, the wayfinding signage was completed?
I will, sir.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Smurl?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes. I hereby declare item 7E legally and lawfully adopted.
7F for consideration by the Committee on Community Development for adoption, Resolution Number 201, 2023, ratifying and approving the city's acceptance and administration of grant funds from the Redevelopment Assistance Capital Program through the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for up to $2 million to be used by Lackawanna College for the Center for Technology Innovation Project, Phase 2.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Community Development?
As chairperson for the Committee on Community Development, I recommend final passage of item 7F.
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Smurl?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes. I hereby declare item 7F legally and lawfully adopted.
7G for consideration by the Committee on Community Development for adoption, Resolution Number 202, 2023, ratifying and approving of the execution and submission of the grant application by the City of Scranton to the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources for the Pier Grant for up to $18,000 to be used towards a management study of the city parks.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Community Development?
As chairperson for the Committee on Community Development, I recommend final passage of item 7G.
Second.
On the question?
On the question, in the documentation that comes with this, it discusses Phase 2. I know we got the Phase 1 of the park study. Mr. Voldenberg, could we reach out for the Phase 2? Any documentation or information that is in regard to Phase 2 of the park studies?
I'll do that, sir.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Smurl?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes. I hereby declare item 7G legally and lawfully adopted.
7H for consideration by the Committee on Community Development for adoption, Resolution Number 203, 2023, authorizing the Mayor, Office of Economic and Community Development, and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a contract with Opportunity Space, Inc., doing business as Telemi, to provide services for a rental licensing, inspection, and data analytics software system.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Community Development?
As chairperson for the Committee on Community Development, I recommend final passage of item 7H.
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Smurl?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes. I hereby declare item 7H legally and lawfully adopted.
Eighth order, 8A, Resolution Number 194, 2023.
This legislation is a liquor license for Greenridge News. It has been tabled until a public hearing was held this evening. It will be placed in seventh order on next week's agenda for a final vote. If there's no further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.